Hey guys, SK here, back with another Clash Royale video, and today I have a video that is very different from any of the other videos you have probably watched on my channel. This is going to be more of a discussion or podcast type video. Now, I personally do enjoy discussions in general and analyzing anything, so in terms of Clash Royale, I really like discussion type videos, and they are definitely one of my favorite types of content, so I'll be making that type of video today. This is not going to have much gameplay. It's just going to be me going over, basically, if you could tell by the title already, the new update, why I think there are so many things that went wrong with this update and the meta, and some of the issues that I'd like to personally highlight, and also some positives about it as well, and finally some proposed changes that I would personally like to see that I think would help make things a lot better. So, I'm honestly kind of upset that I had to come to this. I was just trying to, go about my normal routine, make ladder videos that a lot of people have been enjoying recently, but I just can't anymore. I've been playing a lot of ladder, and I just decided to stop now. I'm not playing any more ladder, Path of Legends, until they fix the meta in terms of the Monk and the Phoenix. So on my other account, I stopped at 2100 medals, which was around top 1.5k at the time of playing it, but I'm just done. And I want to make this video, honestly, because, again, I try not to be a very negative person. I do have some pretty harsh criticisms at times, but I just have a lot of thoughts about this after playing for so long and just experiencing the disgusting meta and just the terrible state of the game that we've had as a result of this update and the new cards in particular. So yeah, again, this is not a scripted video at all. I'm just going to be kind of talking stream of consciousness type, where I just discuss my thoughts as they are, and I don't know how it's going to go. We'll see. It's not going to be as polished as some other discussion type videos you might find on YouTube about Clash Royale stuff. I'm not going to be heavily editing this. It's just going to be in one take, just me talking about stuff. But I hope that you guys do enjoy it, and hopefully some of my thoughts can kind of align with some others as well, what you guys think, and hopefully we can just have a nice conclusion to the dilemma that we are now facing in the game. So I'm going to be breaking this down into chapters. I do not have a script again, but I do have some very brief notes that I wrote yesterday when I was deciding to make this video. I decided to wait until today because honestly yesterday I was just so done. I just wanted to take a break, so I didn't make any videos. I didn't really play after that ladder grind for a few hours. I was just finished. So yeah, and I'm still not playing ladder again until they fix this meta. I might play like some other stuff, but I'm also just enjoying some other games right now, especially on the Nintendo Switch. But alright, so we have chapters. So chapter 1, the new cards. And so 2 new cards were added to the game around last month. I don't actually have the exact dates, maybe this month, but the 2 cards are the Monk and the Phoenix, a champion and a legendary. And so the Monk is a 4 elixir champion. It is a ground troop, and as you can see, it has a combo attack, which means every 3rd hit it does extended or extra damage and a much extended knockback, where it actually pushes stuff back more than the log does, so that is kind of insane as well. It also has an ability, and that is obviously the main thing about champions. They have abilities, and so its ability, Pensive Protection, takes less damage, deflecting projectiles back at the opponent. So there are 2 issues with this card, and honestly for this chapter I'm just going to be discussing the issues by themselves about the cards. And so the Monk, its ability is already really overpowered, but it's overpowered in multiple ways. Number 1, it deflects any projectile, so any spell that's a projectile, fireball, rocket, arrows, it'll deflect, and also any troop cards that are projectile shooters, so Musketeer, Hunter, Archer Queen are just some examples. It deflects all of them, and even Princess Towers back at themselves. And so this is very invalidating in its own right, because it just completely shuts down some cards and just closes them off from the meta. Some examples, I know that some people might think this kind of biased, but I myself am personally an Expo player, and Monk has been one of the worst things that's ever happened to my archetype. Monk just hard counters more than half an Expo's HP by itself with the ability, with absolutely 0 counterplay from the Expo player's side. There is nothing you can do to stop a Monk ability other than use your own Monk to get in the way, and that is just honestly going a bit overboard, and it's not even reliable. So number 1, it just shuts everything down. It also closed out, Sparky and other things like those, where Sparky just basically kills itself and can even splash its own tower. It's ridiculous. But the other issue about the Monk is its base stats. It has a ton of hit points, 2,660. I believe that's actually more than the Mighty Miner, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, no, it's not, but it basically is almost the same as the Mighty Miner, which is ridiculous, considering its ability is so dynamic, And it also has the combo, which is problematic too, because not only does it do a lot of damage, it does knockback, which can make it an insane defender against lots of troops on the ground. You know, Royal Giants, Golems, Giants, Goblin Giants, basically any heavier ground-based tanks, it'll do a great job at just shutting down entirely. So those are some of the issues. The other big issue with this card is this part right here, damage reduction 80%. You know, for an ability that is supposed to deflect projectiles, it sure doesn't make sense that it can survive raging E-barbs and P.E.K.K.A hits like nobody's business. 80% damage reduction at some points just feels like it's healing itself when you're trying to hit it with something. It's just ridiculous, and so it is a very versatile ability, and overall this card is probably one of the most broken cards that has ever been added to the game. Probably the best champion in the game. I don't know if it's as good as Archer Queen on release, but it definitely feels that way right now. Next up we have the Phoenix, the legendary card, and it is, as you can see, a flying troop. It'll be reborn as an egg when destroyed, and if it hatches, it returns to the fight. Excellent ability. Also has a fiery personality in literary sense. It has a lot of damage. It has quite a lot of HP as well. It is very strong. And so again, the Phoenix's issues are twofold. Number one, the base stats are absolutely insane. And so for the Monk, I think the ability is the bigger issue than the base stats being overpowered, but I still think both are insane. For Phoenix, I think the ability, or not the ability, I think the base stats and the rebirth mechanic are overpowered, but I think the base stats are even more overpowered because Phoenix has more damage per second than a Mega Minion, has an insanely fast hit speed at 0.9 seconds, only for one more elixir than a Mega Minion, and it's just unbelievable, especially when you consider the ability of it being able to respawn. And it respawning as a full HP Phoenix, which basically means, you know, if this card is worth 4 elixir, because it obviously does pack a bigger punch than a Mega Minion, so it's not only 3 elixir, if it's worth 4 and a Phoenix respawns, it's technically worth 7 or 8 elixir for doing nothing. I mean, if you can protect the egg, if it dies on your own side, it respawns, it just gets so much value. And so, you know, like I said, Monk invalidated some archetypes, invalidated Expo and Sparky. Phoenix completely invalidated Lava Hound from the meta. There is no Lava Hound at all. It is a barren wasteland of Lava Hound-less gameplay at top ladder, because Phoenix is just in every single deck because it's so overpowered. It does such a good job against Lava Hound, no matter what your deck is. Even the new meta minor poison deck with only Phoenix and Goblin Gang as air cards can beat Lava Hound just because Phoenix is so overpowered again. So I mean, both these cards very invalidating. Phoenix, the other issue is the rebirth mechanic. It respawns as a full HP Phoenix, which is honestly just insane. Like, it's worth way more than 4 elixir with almost nothing the opponent can do, especially if it's on their side of the map. I mean, if you spend, say, 4 elixir or whatever to kill the Phoenix on their side, you have to overcommit to the egg by either logging it or going for a bar barrel or arrows, or even something like a fireball maybe. Otherwise it will respawn and just put all your work to waste. Its hit points are also insane. It survives a lightning, which is unheard of. I mean, an E-Drag costs 1 more elixir than this and does not survive lightning. And even if you do lightning the Phoenix, if the lightning doesn't also hit the egg is respawning. So it's a -2 trade, and it's a full health Phoenix back. So I mean, it's just insane. So these two new cards are ridiculous and just broke the game in many ways. So I just think those are some of the aspects of them that are so overpowered and broken, and that's why I think these two cards being added with the strength that they have were very problematic for the game. So chapter 2 is going to be the state of the meta, and so I just want to take a look at some of the new meta decks that have emerged as a result of these new cards being added. Number 1, Elixir Golem has made a full-fledged comeback. Elixir Golem also received a hit speed buff in the balance changes that added these cards as well in the same update, I believe. So this deck has been everywhere with variations, many different variations, but this is my personal biggest annoyance out of them. It has the Monk and the Phoenix, two very overpowered cards, and the Mirror, because all you have to do is get an E-Golem down, healer, mirror your Phoenixes, rage it up, and you probably win. You can also go E-Golem, mirror your battle healers, and then go Phoenix. You can go mirror to E-Golems in both lanes, you know, split up, whatever you want to do, and this is just not healthy for the game. I know there's someone in my comment section recently that's actually been defending Elixir Golem and says that cycle decks like Expo are no skill and this is a high skill deck, and I just have to say that is probably the biggest joke I've ever heard. I do not take opinions from people like those seriously at all. I take them with a serious grain of salt, and I honestly just laugh at them, at how silly and inept you can be at understanding this game, to be honest. But yeah, this is one example of just how disgusting the meta has become. Next up we have this deck. you know, what a specimen of a deck. We have Elixir, or Electro Giant Elixir Collector with the Mirror and the Phoenix. Same exact principle. You know, Goblins were also buffed. They're doing pretty well in the meta right now. You go pump, you mirror the pump, you spam your cycle cards, and Phoenix, get back to a new pump, mirror it again, and then just spam Electro Giants and win. You can even mirror your E-Giants, and, like, is this what we want the meta to come to, where you mirror your pumps, you mirror the E-Giants, you mirror the Phoenixes? Again, Phoenix is so overpowered that it single-handedly brought back Mirror. Mirror was even shadow nerfed in these balance changes, where it can't be played after you play a champion, which I think is a good decision to make. I think it's healthy, because the old mechanic was very unhealthy, where you can play a pump, then you can play a champion, then you can still play a mirror on the pump because you can't mirror a champion, obviously. That's just unhealthy. So yeah, like, I think that was a good nerf to it, and maybe they could buff it in the future, but it's still being used everywhere in, you know, Elixir Golem and Electro Giant because of the Phoenix alone. Phoenix alone gave enough of a resurgence to this card that it has actually been dominating the meta after getting nerfed twice in a row. I mean, the level was reduced to 1 level higher instead of 2 again, which was the buff that it initially got, and then it was even nerfed to not work as well with champions, and is still doing as well just because of how broken Phoenix is, because of how broken it synergizes with the pump, and you just spam cycle cards and get back to multiple pumps. Like, this is the state of the meta. It's so sad. And next up, we have this deck, one of the best decks in the entire game right now, and it's just a bread and butter deck. You know, you have Monk and Phoenix. What more could you need? You have your win condition, you have your cycle cards, you have 1 support card, your spells, and that's the deck. You just put these 2 cards in any deck and it works. And that brings me to the issue with the state of the meta, which is that currently a top ladder, both Monk and Phoenix are required to have any form of success at all. The biggest problem with this is accessibility, especially for newer and casual players who do not have the resources or money to spend on this game, you know, to bypass Royale every season, to max their Monk, to max their Phoenix, and compete at the top level. Before champions were added, legendaries were already kind of hard to access, but at least you could play free-to-play decks. Now with champions added, they kind of power crept the meta, forcing people to play a champion to have a chance, unless you are very skilled one-trick. For example, really good Logbait players, or really good Hog players, or really good Expo players can play their decks without champions and still do well, but you still kind of need them to do super well, or at least compete on an even playing field. And then Phoenix is also necessary because it's such a broken card. It's probably the most broken card in Clash Royale history upon release. Maybe tied with something like the old Night Witch, I don't know, but this card has gotten emergency nerf twice and is still literally everywhere. That's going to be covered more later on, but yeah, like, it's still literally everywhere, so you're forced to play these 2 cards, which again comes into the issue of barriers to entry for newer players, where you're not able to access these cards and you're not able to compete on an even playing field. You can do it in tournaments, in challenges, sure, but otherwise you are going to be in for a world of hurt if you go against these 2 cards and you do not have them. You are basically guaranteed to lose. Same for competitive scene of Clash Royale right now. Every single event is dominated, is rife with these 2 cards. If you, in the duels format, you can only play them once, so basically it's a rock, paper, scissors game. If you have them and your opponent doesn't, you basically win. If you don't have them and your opponent does, you basically lose, and it's just sad. So yeah, the state of the meta, these kind of decks being popular are just kind of a disgrace, honestly, to the balancing of this game. And these 2 new cards being so overpowered and inaccessible to newer players and more casual players who don't have a lot of money to spend on the game are very problematic. Chapter 3, the lack of apt balancing. So I'm going to be going over the quote-unquote emergency nerfs, and I put them in quotes because they were anything but nerfs. Like, they were haircuts. So there were 2 nerfs, 2 rounds of emergency nerfs that were introduced. So Phoenix was respawned, or introduced into the game, let me check, around October 27, I believe, or October 26. Yeah, so that was when they were introduced. And then Phoenix was literally everywhere, to the point that an emergency nerf for both the Phoenix and the Monk was announced. So this was announced on November 1st, and it was as following: Phoenix damage minus 10%, egg lifetime 4 seconds to 4.3 seconds, will always be destroyed by crown towers if left unguarded, and Monk ability cooldown 15 seconds to 17 seconds. Firstly, the fact that the Phoenix egg did not always die when left unguarded on your opponent's side of the map was so silly. I mean, it was based on the distance to the tower, so basically if your Phoenix egg was next to the tower, it would die. If it was nearer to the river, far away, it would not die to the tower, and it would respawn even while it's being attacked by the tower. That is just insane. It also got a hefty 10% damage nerf because it had so much damage. It was one-shotting minions and goblins. I believe it still one-shots goblins, but maybe not minions now, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not entirely sure. But basically I knew it used to before, and it was just very overpowered. So that was a big nerf, right? And then let's talk about the monk. Ability cooldown 15 seconds, 17 seconds. Since when was that ever the issue with this card? Since when was anyone complaining about the ability being able to be used multiple times? No, people were complaining about the ability in the first place, not only deflecting spells, rockets, fireballs. Monk plus ability costs 5 elixir to deflect a rocket and deal full damage back at the opponent's tower for less elixir than the cost of the rocket, and have a full HP monk counter pushing is just unbelievable. It's asinine. And then also the fact that, again, the damage reduction is 80%. It survives a P.E.K.K.A on it, like 4 hits of the P.E.K.K.A. It survives raging E-barbs hammering away at it like nothing. Like, those are the issues of this card. Since when was the ability cooldown the issue? So this was one of the most ridiculous quote-unquote emergency nerfs I've ever seen. In fact, when I was talking about it later on, I didn't even remember that Monk got an emergency nerf because it literally did nothing. Like, no one is complaining about using it multiple times. No one even really cares about using it multiple times. It only really is used once anyways, if not rarely twice, but that was so wrong and just incorrect. It was crazy. But the Phoenix nerf was okay, but obviously it was still super overpowered because everyone was still playing it. So later down the road, we go down to later on in November 21st, where it was announced that Supercell would be deploying the following bounce chain shortly. Phoenix Egg, hit points minus 34%, can now be destroyed by the log and the barb barrel. And this has some mixed reception. In my opinion, this was again totally the wrong nerf. The rebirth mechanic was the issue with this card. I guess I'll talk more about this later when I talk about my personal proposed nerfs to these cards once and for all to actually make them balanced. But the egg was not the issue. The Phoenix itself is the issue, and the fact that if it respawns to full HP Phoenix is the issue. Making the egg die to a log or barb barrel is okay, but something they didn't even consider, or maybe they did, they just went over it, that a lot of you guys have commented in my comment section, is the fact that the Phoenix egg does not die to a zap or a snowball. So other small spells are just left in the dust, where if you're a zap or a snowball player, good luck against the egg, have fun. You're not playing log or barb barrel, so why should you get to one-shot it? You don't get that luxury. Log barb barrel players are enjoying. In fact, barb barrel doesn't even do that well all the time, because if the egg dies low enough on the opponent's side, the barb barrel won't even reach it. At least log can reach further, so log is probably the best counter to the egg right now, because it is just very versatile at countering anyways. And also this plays into the log, because I personally love this card. It's quite strong. It's a very strong card. It has a very high use rate, and I know a lot of people want it to be nerfed, but what they did with this Phoenix egg only made the problem worse. It only made it way more difficult to balance, because the log was already used so much, and now if you want to kill the Phoenix egg, you have to use log or barb barrel. You can't use any other small spell except for arrows, which is like a medium-ish spell. It's 3 elixir, not 2. So they're only making this worse. They're exacerbating the issue. Log was already having such high use rates, they just forced people to use it even more, or else they would suffer for playing zap and snowball, which is just silly. So a lot of people complaining about that, and I totally agree with that. So and then we did not see an emergency nerf to the monk. So the only nerf monk ever got since release was ability cooldown 15 seconds, 17 seconds. Like, what in the world? No address of the combo or damage or knockback being so good. Nothing about the deflection of absolutely anything and not taking any damage from any ranged troops or spells like a rocket or a fireball, completely deflecting it. Nothing about the 80% damage reduction being a complete tank. Nothing like that at all. Just leaving it be because it's a champion, so might as well make it broken, right? Well, no, it's not really fair, and I personally really disagree with it. And again, I will be discussing this in another chapter in this video about what I think they should be doing. So that is pretty much the lack, in my opinion, of the apt balancing of these cards. I really don't know why they chose to go with such a conservative approach. I mean, they're legendary and champion cards. Maybe they want the revenue from them. I can't blame them. I mean, it is a mobile game that's free to play, so it makes sense they would need some sources of revenue. You can't deny that, and it is a very good cash grab because players are forced to have books of books for them. So it's a smart business decision, but they also do have to consider the quality of life of the players and the user experience, and I feel like that was just completely disregarded with these emergency nerfs, not addressing any of the actual issues, and that's why I think it was so unfortunate and just very sad to see the state that they left these cards in, and they're still dominating the meta everywhere. In fact, let's take a look right now at the leaderboards just to prove my point. Hopefully I don't get disproven, but I doubt it. Sosa, number 1, is playing Graveyard with Phoenix and Monk, and that is number 1. Morton, number 2, is playing Ramrider with Phoenix and Monk. Mohammed Light, number 3, is playing... Okay, this is not what he's playing. I don't know what he's playing, but he's obviously not that. I could check on his Royale API, but it's fine. Pedro, number 4, is playing Mortar with Phoenix and Monk. He's a very good Mortar player. Samuel Basoto is playing... Again, I don't think he's playing this. He might be. I don't know. McHarris being at that high is very impressive. Greco is playing Mortar with Phoenix and Monk. So literally everyone, Anaban, let's take a look, is playing Lumberloon with Phoenix and Monk. And then finally Lucas is playing Minor Poison with Phoenix and Monk. So I think my point is proven. You have to have these cards if you want to have any semblance of success at a top ladder, and that is just so wrong. Chapter 4, the ladder split. So the ladder was split into 2. As you can see right here, we have the Trophy Road and we have the Path of Legends, and I think this was kind of a bad decision. You know, I was already kind of against the split of the ladder that they were going to do when they announced there's going to be a radical change to ladder, because I just think it was fine the way it was. Like, why did they have to do this? You know, what I do like about the update, I guess I'll talk more about that later, was they added more king levels. So balancing or matchmaking rather is more balanced, and players are able to find opponents of the same level easier, if I can talk properly, which is nice. But then they split the ladder, which is weird. I mean, Path of Legends is okay. You know, we have Ultimate Champion, we have all these leagues that you can get to, and it's a fun little novelty. It's a new idea that they tried out with the steps, with the Golden Steps 2, making it so there's some anti-tilt mechanisms where once you reach a certain point, you can't go lower than that. It's a nice idea. In concept, in reality, it just completely took away any of the achievement related to Ultimate Champion. There are over 40,000 players in Ultimate Champion already, with only 2 weeks and a bit into the season. So that data is from Royale API, by the way. So, I mean, maybe they wanted it to be like this. Maybe it wasn't meant to be such a good achievement. Before it was 8,000 trophies, which was significantly harder to achieve. But I don't know how to feel about it. I mean, now I see people saying, oh, I reached Ultimate Champion. It doesn't even feel like an achievement. So I don't know what to say, but I don't really like this. I mean, medals and this rating point system is basically the same as all the old trophies. It's just a different kind of game, a different framework that they're working with. I don't really get it. Like, they didn't need to do this, and I'm just a bit confused, to be honest. But also, Trophy Road. And I know there have been a bunch of other videos. I should have said this at the start of the video, actually, but there have been a bunch of other videos on this topic recently, you know, about how this was maybe the worst update of all time, or one of the worst updates in Clash Royale, and that was partially what motivated me to make this video. But the main catalyst for me making this video was that ladder grind session where every single game was just Monk and Phoenix, and just an unenjoyable gauntlet of ridiculous decks that just made the game unenjoyable for me. But yeah, I'm kind of inspired by them, but these are mostly my own thoughts again. But this new Trophy Road, look at this on my screen right now. Look at all those players stuck there at 7,500. I can't even click on all of them to spread them out. Like, there are just too many up there. I don't know how to do it, but everyone is just there. And so, you know, it's nice that Trophy Road is bigger. That, you know, they extended it now. There are more rewards. You have these champion chests. They have a bit more rewards, I guess, but it doesn't reset anymore. So basically, once you reach Arena 20, Legendary Arena, 7,500 trophies, you cannot lose trophies, you cannot gain trophies. What does it become? It essentially becomes 1v1 showdown on Trophy Road, with no rewards except for chests and just having a fun casual battle. And again, this doesn't really make sense. Like, why would anyone play Trophy Road? Take a look at my profile. I've not played any Trophy Road since the update on this account, because what's the point? Like, I'm just going to reach 7,500 and then I'm going to be done. And then there's no sense of achievement in that either, because everyone's already reached it pretty much, or a lot of people have anyway. Look at my friends list again. I show you my friends list right now. Everyone at the top is already 7,500. So, like, what is the point of this system where, you know, you reach this spot of 7,500 trophies and then the achievement is just gone? There's nothing to be had from that. There's no sense of achievement. There's no enjoyment. You can't do anything. You are just stuck at 7,500. You can't lose or gain trophies. So I just think this ladder split was honestly kind of weird, and this is another one of my criticisms with the update. Hopefully over time they make some tweaks. I know it's a new system and they can make some changes. You know, they can add more emotes to Path of Legends. They can change the league system maybe. They can change how matchmaking works. I don't know. But I know that improvements are possible on the horizon though, and so I'm not discrediting that. It is possible and it would be nice, honestly. So we'll see how that goes, but until then, I don't really like the state this has left the game in, where pretty much Trophy Road is done. Like, there's not really a point to it. I know some of you guys, a lot of guys, probably aren't going to be able to max it out because you don't have max decks or you don't have the new cards, but for end content players like myself, you know, top ladder players, it's just pretty much another thing that you just do and don't really care about. You just get 7,500 and it's done, and there's no real big deal. Path of Legends as well is just the only thing you can play, and right now, again, it's not even enjoyable because of the state of the meta, like I've been talking about, so just lots of problems. Chapter 5, my proposed balances. So now I'm going to be going over my own personal balances that I would like to see done to these cards, and I consider myself a pretty decent player. I consider myself a pretty decent analyst as well. Like, I play the game a lot. I have quite a bit of data. You know, I don't actually track data like some people like SML, one of the creators of Royale API, but I play the game a lot. I can notice trends. I understand the balancing of the game relatively well. You know, I would say more than the average player. Obviously not at a professional level or at the top ladder level where I compete in Clash Royale League. That's not really in my interest, but I would say I have a decent understanding of this game. So these are just what I would like to see done. These changes, I would like to see them implemented. And I know that this is probably a far cry. I doubt this is ever going to happen. You know, why would they listen to me, a random person who is, I mean, I am an official Supercell content creator, but there are much bigger content creators out there. There are much better players than me out there. This is just my own opinion again. But firstly, I'm going to be starting with the Monk. I think Monk deserves a hefty nerf, and the previous nerf of the ability cooldown just does not cut it. That does not even count as nerf in my book. So we're just going to be treating this as a complete clean slate. The card has not been touched yet, so this is what I would like to see. Number 1, ability duration 4 seconds down to 3 seconds, because 4 seconds is just quite a long time. It gives you quite a bit of buffer. You can straight up kill troops. You can kill a flying machine, an archer queen, a musketeer, just with the ability alone, and then you have, and it's a ground troop. It doesn't even attack air, but it can still take out stuff like a flying machine, minions, mega minions, lava pups, just to name some things. So I think this ability duration is just a bit too long, so I'd like to see a slight nerf to that. I guess 25% is quite a big nerf when you think about it in that way, but it's just 1 second. I think it could do. You could also go 0.5 seconds if you want to be kind of erring on the side of caution and, you know, a bit more laid back, or I don't know the word I'm looking for, but basically just a more safe approach, I guess, less of an aggressive approach, but yeah, I would like to see nerf to that. Number 2, ability damage reduction 80% down to 50%. I think this is the biggest issue of this card. I think this would fix quite a lot of its issues, because I think this is just ridiculous. Again, I've used that example multiple times. You know, surviving a P.E.K.K.A. on it, surviving raging E-barbs on it is just not healthy for an ability that's not even meant to do that. It's just meant to deflect projectiles. It says takes less damage, but it is just meant to deflect projectiles, pretty much. So why should it tank those things? So I would like to see a big nerf to this, down to 50%, so it actually does die to something that's supposed to kill it, you know, like a P.E.K.K.A. or a mini P.E.K.K.A., because lots of cards can't kill it. Spells can't touch it when an ability. Lots of troops can't touch it, even if it doesn't seem like it would make sense, like minions, lava pups, mega minions. So at least the cards that should counter it should actually be able to counter it. Third, I'd like to see a nerf to the HP. I'd like to see a 7% nerf to its HP because it has very high HP, making it very tanky, and for only 4 elixir, it's just too versatile at everything. It has the ability, it has really good stats, it has the combo attack. Another possible nerf, instead of HP, could be maybe nerfing the combo attack's damage or knockback by a bit. I think that would be fine as well. I do think its base stats are also very strong, though, so those are nerfs I'd like to see to the Monk. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I know this is quite aggressive, but again, I have been playing for quite a while. I even posted these changes on Twitter, and quite a lot of people agreed with me, so it's not like it's a completely unpopular opinion. And again, I did think of these myself. Number 2, Phoenix. First and foremost, I think this is the biggest issue. Reborn Phoenix spawns with 50% of its max HP. I think the rebirth mechanic is so overpowered, and so it definitely needs a haircut. More than a haircut, it needs a full shave to that mechanic. Just respawning with full HP is just ridiculous for only 4 elixir. You get another 4 elixir Phoenix back. I think it should be, it's reborn. I guess you could argue it's reborn anew. It's as good as old, or as good as new. It has full HP, but I think it should be 50% max HP. Some people even said 33% max HP, which I think is a bit too aggressive. I don't think it should be that bad, but 50% is a fair mid-ground, I would say. Another really cool idea I saw was giving its HP when respawned proportional to the egg's HP. So, if the egg is at 50% HP when it respawns, say it takes like 1 tower hit or something, actually that would be 33%, but say the egg is at 50% HP, right? Then the Phoenix will respawn with 50% HP. If the egg is 1 hit away from dying, Phoenix will respawn with, say, 33% HP, because that's how much it would be from the tower. So, those are some nice ideas, but I would just like to see a straight-up 50% HP coming back. No nonsense. I don't know if you should do it where it's half of an HP bar, to the point that you can still heal it with a heal spirit or a battle healer, because that would still be really overpowered in Elixir Golem. I don't know, maybe they could just make it 50% HP, and that's the max HP on the new Phoenix. I don't know if that would be hard to implement. But yeah, second, I'd like to see another nerf to its base stats, because the previous one just didn't cut it. I mean, it was a 10% damage nerf, and it still is very overpowered. The hit speed is so strong, so I just think that's unfair. I also think that the previous nerf again to the egg HP was just nothing. Like, that wasn't even really much of a nerf. I mean, it's nice that it dies to log, but it didn't address the root issues of the card. So I'd like to see either one of the following 2 nerfs. Number 1, hit speed minus 7%, or I guess just up to 1 second from 0.9 seconds. I haven't actually done the math on the 7%. I just pulled out a number, but yeah, I would say 1 second hit speed plus 0.1 seconds would be pretty nice, just to, again, make it less overpowered and just a bit more manageable, because it just shreds everything. Or egg knockback minus 50%, because I understand the egg knockback is a big part of it. It's supposed to hatch as an egg and or respawn as an egg rather, and knock stuff back while it prepares to be reborn. But the knockback is twice of that of a fireball, maybe even 3 or 4 times. It's at least twice of that of a log. It's an insane amount of knockback. And unless you have a ranged troop, the knockback might be enough just to make it respawn against some melee attackers. So I think either of those 2 nerfs would be pretty welcome. So those are my opinions on what I would like to see balanced for these 2 cards. A lot of people have been telling me that they think they are nice nerfs. You guys can let me know what you think, I guess, in the comments below. If you agree, disagree, if it's too hefty, if it's too light, what you would like to see nerfed. But those are my, again, personal opinions. And again, quite a few people did agree with them. So it's not like it's just completely out of nowhere, just stupid changes. Some people do want to see them done as well. Chapter 6, positive aspects of the update. I'm going to end the video on a positive note. This is going to be kind of contrasting to the rest of the video, because I mean, it's just been 33 minutes of me kind of complaining, although I feel like I'm justifying it with valid points as well. That's up to you guys to decide, but yeah, let's end on a positive note. There are obviously nice things about this update as well. It was a pretty big update, and so there are a few things. Number 1, king level split was really helpful for casual and mid-ladder matchmaking, because adding 50 king levels, at first I was like, what? Why would you need to add that? I was actually complaining about that. I know I complained quite a bit, but I was like, why would that just complicates things so much, right? Like, do you have to relearn interactions for 50 king levels. That's why I was upset about it, because I thought it was going to be that complex. But no, it's still 14 levels. It's now called Tower Power, your king and princess tower levels, and this is solely for matchmaking based on your card collection. So I think this is very nice. There's no downside to it, just making it so you match opponents of a similar caliber to you, similar progression to you. I think that is very nice. So definitely a very nice thing about the update. Secondly, daily tasks. It's nice to have more rewards, and fun and quick tasks to do are always cool. I will say that I don't have much motivation to complete them or maintain the streak, like the daily bonus and the weekly bonus. I never get it. I've never gotten a weekly bonus yet. I think I've gotten like up to 3 or 4 days in a row, and then I just broke it because I, again, just don't have the motivation to do this. I just don't really open this tab that much. If I complete a task just by playing the game the way I would play it, I'll accept the rewards, but I usually don't go out of my way to, play Trophy Road or get a shop offer if I don't see one that I like. So I think it's still nice, though, banner tokens as well. Very nice to have more ways to buy from the banner box, of course, because they have been releasing some pretty banger banners so far. So I think that is very nice. Daily tasks, again, just a nice little inflow of resources to the economy, more ways to earn rewards. Even if they aren't that much, even if they're very low scale, I still think it's a nice thing to have. Next up, banner and profile editions and banners in general. I think this has been one of the most successful aesthetic things that they've added to this game, and it's very nice because, vanity or aesthetics in games in general has been very huge. Skins and customization is huge. So I think they've done a great job on all of this. These banners look beautiful. Peaceful Plateau, Blossom Bath, all of these look fantastic. And as you can see, I've actually bought the Paper Phoenix banner myself because I just think they're so beautiful. Like, I can't resist when I see such nice banners in the shop. It costs real life money. I spent it because I love this game called Paper Mario. I love the series, so that's kind of what drew me to this. But as you can see, I've actually enjoyed collecting banner tokens and opening all these different things. I love customization. I think it's a great thing they added to the game. So even though I think the profiles look a bit uglier than they used to, with the very old format, I still think all these new customization options are great. You can mix and match whatever. This is one of my personal favorites, the Mega Minion and the Dark Moon one, but you can really do whatever you want. I made this myself with the new Phoenix one as well. I think it looks really nice. You can basically mix and match whatever, so I think, they're going to be releasing new ones in the banner box every single season. I think this is very smart. I'm actually going to buy one more right now just because why not? Okay, Blossom Bath. That's actually great. That's actually one that I wanted, so even though I'll be using Paper Phoenix primarily, I think this is probably one of the best ones. So it looks fantastic. You can mix and match with whatever you want, so it's just great. Like, this is one of the best things that they've done to this game, in my opinion. Again, aesthetics are very huge, especially in games recently, so it's really cool that they've been actually paying attention to this kind of stuff and actually making an effort to make things look nice. So yeah, definitely one of the biggest wins of the update. I think banners were added earlier this year, but obviously they've been continuing with, Phoenix and Monk banners now, and overall just they're keeping this up. So I think that's one of the most positive things that they've had to the game overall. Lastly, new cards in a vacuum, because everyone does love new cards. At the end of the day, in the long run, they are hopefully going to reach a balanced state. You take a look at the Mighty Miner and the Golden Knight right now. They were so broken, respectively, in their own metas, probably the most broken cards in the game at some point, but now they're in a very tame, healthy spot. Even though they're very strong because they're champions, they are nowhere near as good as, like, the Skeleton King or the Monk right now, or even the Archer Queen, so I hope that at some point in the future, these cards will get nerfed to a suitable point that they're actually balanced, and the game is more enjoyable again. But yeah, new cards are fun. I know a lot of people don't care that they're overpowered, they just like having new cards. I know there are quite a lot of people that have been talking about that point. I've seen it myself personally a lot of times, so I'm not trying to discredit any of that. If you do enjoy these cards, you don't really care that much about the balances like I do, all the power to you. I'm glad you're having fun. I just care about the balancing. I'm pretty passionate about it, so that's why I have these issues. But again, in the long run, I feel like these will kind of even out and hopefully reach a balanced point at some point, so then it'll just be nice to have more variety, new cards with new mechanics, you know, reborn phoenixes are cool. Never would have thought about that in Clash Royale before. Monk is also very unique, being able to deflect projectiles and having its own custom style of combat. You know, very innovative ideas, just kind of executed wrong, but still cool. So hopefully in the long run, new cards are still a win. And I guess that's pretty much it for the video. Those are all my chapters I had. One final thing I wanted to say, this Hoggy Bank is one of the biggest scams I've ever seen. It costs the same as a Pass Royale. Okay, Tower Skin, wow. It costs the same, okay, I don't know where the Pass Royale tab is. I guess because I already bought it. But it costs the same as a Pass Royale, for God's sake. And you get 75,000 gold. Like, what is that? Come on, seriously, what is that? For Pass Royale alone, in one of the tiers, you get a magic coin, which is worth 100k gold at its best level. So I don't know what they were doing with that. You also get a book of books, which is at most worth 20 champions. If you consider the fact that you get 40k gold reimbursed to you when you get a spare champion, that is technically 20 times 40,000 gold in one item. So Pass Royale just blows this out of the water. I don't know what they were thinking with this. Maybe they were trying to make the pig's butt stand out and be alluring to some people, so maybe they'll fall for it, but I'm not one of those people. Don't like royal hogs in this way. And I don't think this is a good offer at all. None of the Hoggy Banks have been good offers so far. The first one was like $2 for 12k gold. Like, what? In the actual shop itself, you spend $2 on 80 gems, pretty much. Almost 2, or you buy 2 of these, you get 160 gems. You can play a grand challenge, top prize, 22,000 gold. That's already more than the Hoggy Bank by twice the amount, and 1,100 cards. So I know this is a detour of me ranting about the Hoggy Bank, but it is honestly quite a joke, so shame on you, Hoggy Bank. You are a disgrace to the Clash Royale offers. But yeah, that is again pretty much going to be the video, guys. Again, this is a very different type of video for me. I probably have a fair amount of editing to do, even though this is an unscripted raw video in one take. I still want to add text for, you know, all the chapters and everything and the balances, so you guys get to see them. But yeah, that is pretty much going to be it. So let me know what you thought. You know, again, this is a very different video for me, but you can probably tell by the way I'm talking about it. I'm quite passionate about this stuff. I do care about it, and I do have quite a lot to say. I have some opinions, and I wanted to share them with you guys because, again, I've been having too much opposite of fun, I don't know, on ladder recently on my main account, to the point that I just didn't really play it anymore, and I won't be playing ladder till they fix these cards. So in the meantime, I wanted to make this video just to talk about it with you guys. You might have seen my recent community post, which kind of was given rise to because of that ladder grinding session, and finally just something snapped in me. I was like, okay, I'm done with ladder. I'm just gonna stop. I might make a video discussing my thoughts, but I'm not going to put myself through this. I'm not enjoying it anymore, because at the end of the day, video games are about enjoyment. If you're not having fun, why even play them? And I feel like these two cards have just completely taken that aspect away from me. But again, that is pretty much going to do it, guys. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you think I'm full of BS, if you think I have some stupid points you'd like to refute them, go ahead. I'll be interested to see you guys comment. If you agree, let me know as well. But yeah, hopefully we can see some apt balancing for these cards soon. Hopefully we can see some nicer updates in the future, and just overall positive things for this game, because I do love this game. I've been making content for this game for multiple years now. I've spent countless hours on recording videos, on playing the game, even outside of videos. And, you know, I've put in a lot of time, so I enjoy it clearly. I just want to see it in a healthier spot. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Take care, and I will see you in the next one.